Ja, dan is het 8:05 in de studio van Radio Hoyer 2 en kunt u weer luisteren naar het ochtendprogramma Malle Molen. En wat u kunt verwachten op deze dinsdag 16 augustus, en het jaar, dat weet u, is 1988.
What I would like is a neutral film on Curaçao, not folklorism only. Curaçao as it is, not as it was all the time.
They escolhei fazer oito picos na dia atividade quando usam cosco ami assim.
I like to make things more that I like to talk.
You'd rather make things than talk.
Talk always is hard for me to do. With market it's more easy for me.
Salsa da voz solo di pueblo. E mientras outra coisa de música di Fanny All Stars del fondo, nós indivisavo também com novo nós recebemos em estúdio na Radio Hoyer long play di Sonora Ponceña. Sonora Ponceña long play novo também, mas coisa que a companhia Fanny a cada 2 anos sacando produção musical novo e for de produção musical e nós legal para escutar de novo lá. Sigo pensando.
So this system that we're looking at is very unique, I understand. This was designed here and built and is one of the first solar powered radio stations in the world?
Well, its kind, which you could say, first of all, is a fully solar powered station. It's indeed the first in the world. Most of the equipment at the Tafelberg, and in this specific rack, the telemetry control terminal has been designed and built here in the Netherlands Antilles by Industrial Electronics, which is a local company. Right now we are at the solar panel platform where we can see how the 128 solar modules are actually mounted. This is actually the battery room. This is where we have the batteries that basically store the energy so that we have enough to use either at night or in times when there's little or no sun. Right here we can see what is being produced by the sun, and IBA means the current that goes into the battery. The difference between the two would be the current that goes into the load. So that's the part that's being used by the station at this point in time.
Directamente a Chico. Le suenan bravo de salsa Luis Enrique con su canción Desesperado.
You were speaking in Papiamento, right?
Yes.
So your Radio Hoyer 1 is more for Papiamento audience,
Yes. Historically, it's been under 34 years of Radio Hoyer. It has been so. Radio Hoyer 2 is mostly a Dutch audience. Radio Hoyer 1 is mostly Papiamento. It's mostly the people from Curaçao.
Ja, dan is het inmiddels 11:01 geworden en dan zullen we toch langzaam maar zeker Dos Passos weg moeten draaien. Want het is tijd voor het dagelijkse jammernummer van Laurie Spee. En u weet het, die tune, die kent u.
Yeah, your program's in Dutch versus Papiamento or English, of course, but you're doing it in Dutch. Do you think there's a big audience for the Dutch? I mean, because I hear most of the people speaking Papiamento on the island, so are you aiming towards a Dutch audience or are you aiming towards the local?
I'm aiming towards local people, and I've noticed from the reactions and from the telephone calls that it's not only the Dutch that listen, and for that I'm very glad, because I want the Dutch also to learn about our cultural and hear things that are important to us. But I want our own people that sometimes I have a feeling lack certain knowledge to learn about things like politics and like what's happening in government.
People say Papiamento is not ripe enough to become a complete language, no? And that is happily not true, because Papiamento is not so young a language. It's at least 300 years. I mean, Dutch is 500 years, Papiamento is 300 years. Papiamento is a language that came over with the slaves and that was enriched here. But it is a Roman African language, and like Cape Verdean languages and Guinea-Bissau and these kind of languages, like the Creole languages in general in Jamaica and the Caribbean and so on. Now what we've been doing with this language, it has its tradition, it has newspapers. I think even currently it's about 5 or 6 newspapers. It has radio station, the parliament discusses in Papiamento and so on. So it's not an artificial language. It's not an Esperanto thing. It's a language with a history. And once we use the modern techniques of language planning to normalize it, it's perfectly utilizable in schools. It has been proven scientifically that 25% of the kids don't make it because of the language, and because of that accepted educational argument, everything has been said the last 25 years to introduce Papiamento, but it never happens. And the children keep going out, drop out, and so all these 25 years on.
Are there local bands doing salsa music?
Oh, sure.
Are they doing it in Papiamento? Or?
Yes, it's been very popular doing that lately. Bands are being translating the lyrics from Spanish to Papiamento.
About 1 year ago, you began the first Papiamento school in Curaçao. Could you tell me how the idea for starting the school came to you?
Yeah, the school is this girl here.
Bom, a escola nasce door com minha tata. Tava ajudando. Minha tata conta minha tata. Todo dia. Minha mama com minha tata. Todo dia. Não estava a placa nas bocas na outra escola como estava a pai. Até hoje sei. E eu e minha tata decidi de lá da escola humanista. Então, depois na coisa brinca palante, na alogruntiki, nós vai escola.
If a child is going to school, a Dutch school, they're
Yeah.
being forced to speak Dutch. They might be trying to speak Papiamento in the school even. So maybe their mouths are taped? Is it?
No, they mouth are taped because that's the way, from the educational point of view, they handle children. They don't know modern methods for handling children. If they don't beat them, they tape them. There's a soft way of dominating them. So the education is still very violent and very authoritarian and old-fashioned. So my wife was against that. I was for Papiamento, and she also for Papiamento. So we said it is now or never. And so we dove into the law that is beautiful Dutch heritage law of freedom of education. And if you have 100 children, you can make school and have it all paid for. That's the best thing on earth the Dutch left us, so why not use it?
Nós está começar na ponta preta. Claro? Começar. Mete pouco, ribaninhas, pibinete. Mas não sustai folhinha não, ora, bom? Nós está começar a riba comigo.
Frank, you are being helped in the financial situation because of this Dutch law, and the Antillean government is paying for your teachers and your facility costs. So what are your expenses? Why would you need money?
You need money because the school is in a transitional phase. There is no material in Papiamento, and the government has not produced it yet. So we battle the government, but during the battle we still have to produce. So before we get this whole thing settled, we need to be producing. Now we have to deal about, at a minimum, to be right working now, we need about 200,000 Antillean guilders, only for the books.
Only for the books?
For the books, making them, translating them, adapting them, and so on. You know, we are having, besides the Papiamento thing, we are having a hard time because we took up the humanism, because we didn't want a complete neutral school in which there was no moral reflection. So we settled for humanism, and that was, you know, perhaps an opportunistic step too, because we did not want to be looked upon as anti-Dutch per se, you know. So once we had the thought of humanists, and we decided to call the school also Collegio Erasmo.
What's that mean?
This Erasmus.
Oh, Erasmus.
Yes. So a Dutchman. So we from that moment on, we don't have trouble with the Dutch in Curaçao, because they can't say we are against Dutch, which has been used often. If you say we're pro Papiamento, a lot of Dutch that are against Papiamento will say they are against the Dutch. So no, we are not against the Dutch. We are pro humanism.
Could you tell me something about how you approach teaching in a humanistic way?
Yeah, it's more the way I look at the child. I look at the child as being good to start with. The child is good, and influences from outside is what actually forms the child. Also, that's one point. And the other point, to me, very important is the relationship that I develop with my children. It's not a question of the teacher's up here and the child's down there. We are on the same level.
No vai curar, tranquilo, tranquilo.
This is the first time the Dutch law is going to be applied to a non-Christian school and a humanism. Now, humanism is the modern times. As you know, in Europe, is the cutting away, doing away with medieval times. So at last, we are really posing the modern times from a critical point of view, thinking view in the Antilles, and that will mean a lot of struggle. They accept the Protestantism. If we introduce Papiamento, and if this thing takes hold, then you get a new elite. The Dutch elite will pass, and then we'll have the Papiamento elite.
Okay, sigue assim, né?
I mean, are you getting ideas from faces that you see around you? It sticks in your head, or?
Sometimes you make a piece of never make a face, and when you feel.
And then I remember a face that I saw. You know.
It's very complicated in a way to explain. You know?
Yeah, I know it's not so easy.
Yes, it's not.
Because sometimes you're actually working on something and then you realize, oh, this is.
Yes.
This look like somebody I know, so.
Because before, the problem is we don't make sketches before we start working. You know, we just start working. Sometimes in the midway working, you get the idea where you want to go. You know. Sometimes. But sometimes you sit and say, okay, I'm going to make a face, or I'm going to make some form.
And the clay is lazy, no?
Is what?
Lazy.
Lazy.
Yeah.
You have to control it.
Yes, clay always is on the ground. You know? It's not like stone or wood that stand there. This clay you have to add, you have to keep putting on, you know. You don't have to take off. The tools we make them ourselves, you know. You make your own tools.
Most of them.
I use everything.
Everything.
From fork,
Tell me
fork, knife.
Dopi di butter, como te llamas?
Yes.
Dopi di butter. Dopi di mané de cervejas, no?
But that's not because you can't get the tools. That's just because you find tools that can work the material best.
No, at that moment you know that kind of tool, you know. But I think the best tool is your fingers, you know.
Yeah.
You feel. But sometimes you use tool to help your fingers, no. You know, that's why. And we don't use special tools. No? We use the tool that we need at that moment, no, to do the job.
Where do you get your inspiration from?
Get inspiration from piece of stones, wood. It depends, but sometimes I create forms directly from my hands.
Me too.
When you say directly from your head
and hands.
Just like this. I don't touch them. I make the body with stones. I look for the stone like the 2 feet in front, you know. I make it like I love it. It looks like a cow, no? A big cow.
Well, from what you've seen, because you've seen other ceramicists and other ceramic sculpture, would you say that you're working in a form that's special to Curaçao?
No, I don't think so. I don't think so.
You think it's
special to me, my own feelings, you know. my own feeling. But maybe if I born in some other island also, it's the same thing you will get out of it. It's nothing to do with special from Curaçao, I think. Special me.
Do you think the African type of feeling to it is because of the people here? Or?
I think it's my roots. I think maybe I got that insight, you know.
I see that you're not doing very much writing, and the people in Holland are asking, well, what's Frank Martinus doing? Is he going to do any writing, or is he taking on the school as his project for the rest of his life? What is?
There is a kind of love-hate relationship between me and the Dutch public, of my public, because I'm always afraid of not doing what the Dutch public wants me to do. As a man from the third world, I don't feel that I can go and become debt-free an artist and to live my own life and not looking at the children around me and so on. I think the children kills me. So now I feel I've paid about the last 8 years of my life again. So I feel free to use 5 more years in writing. And I'm gearing to that direction. So I think in the coming 2-3 years I'll start publishing.
This is good. Yeah, Bob, could you tell me, I've been hearing this kind of music. We've been talking a bit about salsa music, but I'm wondering about the kind of unique, original, music that may be found here.
It is called Muziek die Zombie in Papiamento, which literally in English is translated ghost music. To go back to the name, ghost music goes back since slave time, colonial times, in the 18th so much and 17th so much. It's been a music which has been given that name because before that houses were so distant, and when someone was walking at night hearing music from and not knowing where it is coming from, they gave it they said where it's been being played by ghosts, and that's why they gave it the name Muziek die Zombie, which is ghost music.